Welcome to the Talk Tuesday video series. Today's topic is implementing tactile symbols and opportunities for literacy. In this video, vision specialists Gerald Abner and Jasamyn Nichols DeGrant will demonstrate how to use tactile core and fringe vocabulary during literacy instruction.
Well, hello everyone. I'm here with Jasamyn Nichols DeGrant, who is a teacher of the visually impaired in Clark County, one of our counties here in Kentucky. I wanted us to just talk a little bit about how we're starting to look at literacy activities and embed. We have the core vocabulary back here, then we have the fringe vocabulary here from the Little Red Hen that Jasamyn did, and this summer we had a workshop on multidisciplinary applications for students, and we did the story of Otis. And these are the tactile symbols for Otis, which then we would say this is the fringe vocabulary for Otis. So Jasamyn, maybe share some ideas from the Little Red Hen, some literacy activities that you could do in getting the students to respond using tactile symbols.
Well, as you're reading the story and you're talking about the Little Red Hen, you can always just have them tactually feel the symbols so they learn them as they go. So when they're talking about hoeing the garden, feel the symbol for hoe. When you talk about wheat, I actually have dried wheat on here that they can feel the wheat. After the story is over, you can ask them comprehension questions, and one of the first things that we can do is use the who, what, when, and where questions. The first one we're going to look at is who. So we're going to say who cut the wheat. And then just have the student feel and read who cut the wheat. And then we could give them two choices. Did the Little Red Hen or did the dog? And they can answer the question about that.
So that's really nice there. That's almost like a worksheet, like a printed worksheet you might give to another student. But here now they have their tactile worksheet with their question and then their choices. So another question, where, we could do a question with where did they plant maybe the wheat?
Okay, where plant the wheat? So did they plant it in the garden or did they plant it at the mill? And then that is a comprehension question for them to answer with their tactile symbols.
So this is nice too. I was going to kind of point out this is nice. This is a Velcro book too. So you could actually have the questions pre-made for that student to work on during that time. And then also just giving them a chance, that literacy opportunity of turning pages. Because if we're always just looking at the tactile symbols just on a flat surface, we want to give the idea of now reading and turning the pages and incorporating that in literacy.
We can also do sequencing with the story of the Little Red Hen. You can start out with the grain. Then we plant the grain in the garden. We have to water it and hoe it. Then when it grows, it becomes wheat. We then take the wheat and cut it, take it to the mill, and turn it into flour. So that's kind of how we sequence the story with the tactile symbols.
So you could do that as you're reading the story. You could be putting them into place, and then also just using this comprehension afterwards too for sequencing. What about thinking about maybe writing a sentence and getting to the point where students are interacting with literacy and maybe writing their own sentence, using maybe another Velcro type of adaptation here is just a sentence strip Velcro. So now after we've asked some of those comprehensions in different stories, we might want to ask about what did they like about the story, and help them write with getting off the core, you know, I like, and then maybe giving them a choice, you know. Did they like the Little Red Hen? I like the Little Red Hen, or I like the dog. And having them, this is kind of the blank space here, so having them fill in the blank with their answer on there, and then they can have their sentence to read.
You could make the sentence with, oh, sorry, Gerald. Otis, go play, at Mud Pond.
So there's another sentence there with getting that writing experience in. So we want to talk a little bit about how we come up with choosing the fringe vocabulary and how we decide on that. But first I wanted Jasamyn to kind of give you an idea of just using the blank cards that we have that are from APH that have the categories that are already designed for the individual categories. But how you can even use these blank cards also in your daily activities and literacy activities to help build understanding of categories.
So one of the main things that we talk about when we talk about stories is the characters that are in the stories. So with the tactile connection symbols and the way they organize them, the yellow card is a person. So all of the characters will be on the yellow cards. So when we go over the cards or read the book with the kids, we can put them into categories. We can have a page for just characters, and as we're reading and presenting these symbols, they can put them on the page that they go on. The time that it took place, so we talk about the setting and when the story takes place. So Otis takes place on a summer night, and those cards are both on blue.
So person and our time.
We also talk about the place. Otis takes place on many.
It's on the farm.
On many settings. A farm, the mud pond. They talk about rolling hills and a stall.
Yeah.
There's also objects in a story. And so some of the objects that are used is a fire truck, a hay bale, an apple tree is in the story, and also they use rope. And they give Otis a blue ribbon at the fair. So when we read through the story, when we first sit down and we know the kid's been assigned the story or they're reading it in class, we kind of make a chart and we put each of these categories at the top, and as we're reading, every time we run into a character, we write that in the character section. Every time there's a place, we add that into the next section, or they mention an object. And then we can kind of decide from there what's the main important things that we need to talk about when we review the story with the kid.
So that kind of gives you a way to be organized about thinking about developing the fringe vocabulary for different books and literacy activities, because you can literally get hung up on just on one symbol and you can't decide whether it's a character or a place or an object. And so hopefully this gives you a little bit better of an idea. And then you really can't do anything wrong. If you can't make a choice, we kind of decide, let's just go with it and put it on there. We'll get corrected, somebody will correct us, or we'll realize when we're doing the story, oh, I need to switch that to a different card. But oftentimes, people get stuck not implementing this with students because they get so hung up on trying to decide, have the perfect card and the perfect item for the tactile symbol on the card.
Thank you. We hope you picked up some ideas that you can implement in your classroom. If you have any questions, please email us at TAALC@uky.edu. Thanks again.